Hi, I'm Sierra Richardson again. We are going to do video 2 now and those problems. So now we see many students are not clear about the relationships between squares, rectangles, parallelograms, and rhombuses. Answer the following questions and make sure to explain your reasoning clearly. So the first statement is that squares are always rectangles. Is this true or false? So I say that squares are always rectangles, and that is true. A rectangle just has to have 4 right angles, and opposite sides must be equal. It is a special kind of rectangle because squares have 4 sides, and the sides of this particular type of rectangle are all the same length. So opposite sides are definitely equal as well, since all sides are equal. Okay, let's move on to letter B. All rhombuses are squares, true or false? I say that this is false because some rhombuses are square. Both have equal length sides, so they do share that characteristic in common. But some rhombuses do not contain right angles, and there are acute rhombuses where their angles will be less than 90 degrees. So in this case, those side lengths are equal. Our rhombuses would not be considered a square because remember, in the previous problem we determined that squares are rectangles, and rectangles have 4 right angles. So if we have an acute rhombus, it is not a square. But if we have a right-angled rhombus, then it is a square. All right, next, rectangles are never squares. Now, I tend to stray away from problems that say never because that's very definite. So that's false. Rectangles are squares because rectangles have 4 sides, 4 right angles, and opposite sides are equal and parallel. So all squares also have these characteristics. So when rectangles have 4 equally lengthed sides, then it is a special kind of rectangle called a square. So therefore rectangles are squares. And yeah, they just have to have the same length side to be determined a square. Next, some parallelograms are rhombuses. This is true because though all rhombuses are parallelograms, only some parallelograms are rhombuses. So this is true. A rhombus has 4 equal sides, and opposite sides are parallel to each other. A parallelogram must have parallel opposite sides, but does not necessarily always have 4 equally length sides. So this is a sometimes. So some parallelograms will look kind of like this. I don't know if I can get my marker open. Okay. So this is a parallelogram, right? So just imagine that I drew this well. So this side and this side are parallel, this side and this side are parallel. But this side's a little bit longer than this side. This is not 4 equally length sides here, so this would be a parallelogram, but it's not a rhombus. Now a rhombus, though, if these are all equal sides, and each side is parallel to each other, just pretend that this looks good. This would be a parallelogram and a rhombus, because all rhombuses are parallelograms, because this has 4 equal sides, so it's a rhombus, and this is parallel, that's a parallelogram. This, however, is not a rhombus, because this is shorter than this, and we need 4 equal sides to be a rhombus.